A book on the shelf is just paper. A book in your mind is power. Welcome to Season 1, Money and Mindset. We are here to rewrite your internal script. Let's decode.
Most people see this book as a shortcut, a way to skip the $100,000 price tag of an MBA.
But that framing misses the actual architecture of the work.
Beneath the definitions and models, Josh Kaufman is doing something much more interesting.
He's mapping the business operating system.
Today, we're decoding the Personal MBA by Josh Kaufman,
Not as a textbook and not as a dictionary of business terms.
but as a manual for systems engineering, where the components aren't metal and oil, but human behavior and economic feedback loops.
By the end, you'll realize that business isn't a mysterious gift. It's a predictable machine that you can either debug or build from scratch.
Okay, let's stop right there. I want to reset the room before we go any further.
Good idea.
Usually when we talk about business books or business in general, we get sucked into the narrative.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk about the passion of the founder, the late nights, the stroke of genius, the art of the deal. It's all very, romantic.
It is.
But we are stripping all of that away today, aren't we?
We are. We are putting on our hard hats. If you look at Kaufman's work correctly, there is no art.
None.
There's only engineering. We aren't talking about luck. We aren't talking about destiny. We are looking at the source code.
The source code. That sounds a bit cold, doesn't it? I mean, businesses are full of people.
Right.
People are messy. Can you really treat a company like it's a car engine or a software program?
You have to. I mean, you absolutely have to. If you don't treat it as a system, you are vulnerable to the most powerful force in the universe.
Which is?
Which is entropy.
Entropy. Okay, that's a physics term. Break that down for the context of, running a coffee shop or a tech startup.
Sure. So in physics, entropy is the tendency for ordered systems to dissolve into chaos. If you build a sandcastle and walk away, does it get sharper and more detailed over time?
No, the wind hits it, the waves hit it, and it turns back into a lump of sand.
Exactly. That is entropy. The universe favors chaos. Now, apply that to a business. If you leave a business alone, if you stop injecting energy and structure, it doesn't just stay still.
Right, it degrades.
It dissolves. Relationships with customers degrade. Employees lose focus. Cash reserves dwindle. Equipment rusts. The core thesis we are working with today is that a business is a complex system specifically designed to fight entropy.
So Kaufman isn't giving us tips on how to be rich. He's giving us an operating system, an OS, to stabilize the chaos.
Precisely. It is a diagnostic tool. This is why I love this approach. If your car starts making a clanking noise, you don't sit on the curb and wonder if the universe is punishing you for your sins.
You don't take it personally.
Right. You pop the hood and look for the broken part. Kaufman argues business is the same. If you are failing, it is not a moral failing.
It's a mechanical failure.
It is a mechanical failure in one of 5 specific modules.
Or a bug in the human hardware running it, which we will definitely get to.
Oh, we'll get to that. That's the main point of friction.
But let's start with the machine itself, the iron law, as he calls it.
The iron law of the market. Yeah, this is the foundation. Kaufman argues that every single business, from a lemonade stand run by a 6-year-old to a massive conglomerate like Apple or Exxon, is composed of 5, and only 5, interdependent processes.
5 parts. That seems suspiciously simple.
Well, complexity is usually a mask for a lack of understanding. The engine itself is simple, the fuel, the operator, that's complex. But the structure is rigid.
So what are they?
The 5 parts are value creation, marketing, sales, value delivery, and finance.
And the key word you used there was interdependent.
Right, and this is critical. These aren't silos. Most corporate structures make the mistake of treating them as silos.
No, that's the marketing department's problem.
Exactly that. No, these are gears that mesh together. If one gear stops spinning, the whole machine seizes up. If you remove one, the organism dies. It just ceases to be a business.
Okay, let's get our hands dirty. Let's disassemble this engine and look at Module 1, value creation.
This is the starting line, the spark plug. Value creation is discovering what people need or want and then creating it.
I feel like most people stop at the second half of that sentence.
They do.
Creating it. We fall in love with our ideas. I have an idea for an app that organizes my sock drawer by color. I spend 6 months coding it. I have created something. Is that module 1?
You have performed an act of creation, yes, but you haven't performed value creation, and that distinction is everything.
How so?
This is the field of dreams fallacy, the idea that if you build it, they will come.
Right.
Kaufman is ruthless here. Value isn't determined by the creator, it is determined by the market, by the person with the wallet.
So my sock app.
Unless there is a population of people specifically distressed by the chaos of their sock drawers who have a burning, unmet need to organize them, you haven't created value. You've created a novelty, an art project.
And here's the diagnostic. If I build the sock app and I spend all my time coding it, but I ignore the other 4 parts of the engine, specifically the part where people pay me, what do I have?
You have a hobby.
A hobby. That stings a little.
And hobbies are wonderful. We should all have hobbies. But a hobby is something that consumes resources for your personal satisfaction. A business is something that generates resources by satisfying others. The distinction is binary.
It's a simple test.
It is. If the output of your creation isn't flowing into a market context, the engine isn't turning over.
The source material brings up this concept of economically valuable skills. I found this fascinating because it pushes back against the follow your passion advice we hear so often.
It puts a filter on that advice, a reality check. Let's say you are incredibly skilled at memorizing 18th century poetry. You are passionate about it. You are the best in the world at it.
Okay.
That is a skill. It creates value for you personally. You enjoy it. But is it an economically valuable skill?
Only if someone is willing to trade resources for it.
Correct. Can it be plugged into a value creation engine? Are people lining up to pay for poetry recitations? Probably not. Skills are only relevant to the machine if they serve the 5 parts. This is why you see brilliant artists starving and, mediocre plumbers succeeding. The plumber has a skill that directly plugs into a high-demand value creation module. The artist, perhaps, does not.
So it's not about, is this good? It's about, is this useful to someone else?
To enough someone else's to make the numbers work? Yes. Which brings us to the engineering approach to creation. Kaufman calls it the MEVO.
The MEVO.
The minimum economically viable offer.
This sounds a lot like the MVP or minimum viable product concept we hear in tech.
It's similar, but with a crucial stress on economically. Most people, when they catch the entrepreneur bug, try to build the Ferrari immediately.
Right, the perfect version.
The perfect logo, the perfect website, the fully stocked inventory. They spend 2 years in the garage building this masterpiece. Kaufman argues for a prototype.
Build the skateboard first.
Build the skateboard. If you think people want a new kind of coffee, don't lease a storefront and buy a $10,000 espresso machine.
What do you do?
Brew a thermos of it and stand on a corner, see if anyone stops, see if anyone gives you $1 for it. The MEVO is the smallest possible thing you can create that still solves the problem, so you can see if the engine actually turns over before you invest your life savings.
You're testing the value hypothesis before you build the delivery infrastructure.
Precisely. You are debugging the concept before you build the machine. You're testing the riskiest assumption first, which is, does anyone care?
Okay, so let's say we have that. We have a product. Our gourmet coffee is a hit on the street corner. We have value creation. But a grand product sitting in a thermos that nobody knows about is, well, it's useless.
Which brings us to module 2, marketing.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate here. Marketing gets a bad rap.
It really does.
When engineers or product people talk about marketing, they usually roll their eyes. They think of it as manipulation or flashy colors or, lying.
And that is a fundamental misunderstanding of the system. In the engineering sense, marketing is morally neutral. It is simply the mechanism of attracting attention and building demand. It is the antenna.
The antenna. I like that.
You are broadcasting a signal. If your value creation is the music, marketing is the radio tower. If the tower is broken, it doesn't matter how beautiful the music is, hears it.
So what is the diagnostic here? If I have the world's best coffee, but module 2 fails, I don't market it.
You have a flop.
A flop.
And history is littered with them. Technically superior products that failed because the marketing module was under-engineered. They just couldn't break through the noise.
So it's not the best product that wins.
It's the product that is best marketed that wins, more often than not. The mechanism Kaufman identifies here relies on 2 key variables.
Receptivity and attention.
Right. You have to break through the perceptual filters. The human brain, which we will discuss extensively in a bit, is designed to ignore 99% of what it sees. It has to.
It's a survival mechanism.
It filters out noise to survive. Marketing is the science of crafting a signal that the brain identifies as relevant rather than noise.
So it's not about shouting louder.
No, it's about tuning the frequency to what the receiver wants to hear. If you are selling dog food, you don't broadcast on the cat owner frequency. That's wasted energy, wasted signal.
Okay, so the antenna's working.
Yeah.
We have the product, the value creation, we have the attention, the marketing. People are looking at us. They are interested. They're holding the bag of coffee, but they haven't handed over the cash yet.
Right. We need module 3, sales.
The transaction. Now, help me distinguish this, because in casual conversation, people lump sales and marketing together like they are one big department.
All the time.
But structurally, you're saying they're different gears.
Very different. Think of it this way. Marketing is look at me. Sales is trust me.
Okay.
Marketing burns fuel to get attention. Sales is the only point in the entire 5-part cycle where resources flow into the system.
That's a crucial distinction. Every other part of this machine creation marketing delivery is an outflow. It costs money, time, energy.
Yes, they are all expenses. Sales is the intake valve.
The oxygen intake.
That's a great analogy. If you have high friction in the sales module, the engine suffocates no matter how much attention you have.
And what's the diagnostic if this part breaks?
You have a nonprofit, and usually in this context, an unintentional one.
Right.
You aren't trying to save the whales, you're just failing to close the deal.
The friend zone of business.
That's a perfect way to put it. You have attention, you have interest, you have a great relationship, but no commitment. The engineering constraint here is the balance between trust and barriers to purchase.
Barriers to purchase. This is where I think a lot of online businesses fail.
A
Yeah,
huge
sure.
point of failure. If your checkout process requires 10 clicks, or if you ask for a phone number when you don't need one, or it's just slow and confusing.
You are putting kinks in the fuel hose.
Exactly. Kaufman argues that your job in Module 3 is to remove every single atom of friction that stands between the customer and the transaction. Make it effortless.
Because the customer's looking for a reason to say no.
Always. We have loss aversion, which we'll get to. Sales is really just the process of making the risk of not buying feel greater than the risk of buying. It's about building enough trust to overcome their natural hesitation.
Okay, we've made the sale. The credit card cleared. Cash has entered the system. We can all go home, right? Champagne time.
If only. This is where most amateurs declare victory.
And where professionals start sweating.
Absolutely, because now you have a promise to keep. This is Module 4, value delivery.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
And this is giving the customer what was promised and ensuring their satisfaction. If this module fails, if you take the money but don't deliver the value or you deliver it poorly, what is the diagnostic?
You have a scam.
A scam. Now, you might not intend to be a scammer. You might just be disorganized. You might be overwhelmed. But from the system's perspective, the output is the same. Resources went in, but sufficient value didn't come out.
And scams are self-terminating systems.
They are. They might run for a short cycle. You can fool people once, but the feedback loops, specifically reputation, will destroy the marketing module.
So it loops back.
It always loops back. If delivery fails, marketing eventually stops working because the market signal becomes, do not trust these people. The word gets out.
The mechanism here is the value stream.
Right. It's the sequence of steps. It's not just one thing. Step 1, order received. Step 2, box packed. Step 3, label printed. Step 4, shipped. Step 5, follow-up email sent.
And speed and reliability here determine everything.
They determine the system's reputation. And in the age of Amazon, the expectation for this module is incredibly high. People are conditioned to expect near perfection.
We expect magic. We expect to click a button and have it appear on our doorstep.
And creating that magic requires intense logistical engineering. It's a massive, often invisible part of the system.
And finally, Module 5.
Yeah.
The one that makes everyone nervous. The scoreboard. Finance.
Finance. This is simply the art and science of bringing in enough money to keep the machine running.
And the diagnostic is pretty stark here.
It's the most final. If finance fails, you have a shutdown, the system runs out of energy, the lights go out, end of story.
I want to pause on the mechanism here, which Kaufman calls sufficiency.
Yes.
Because in modern business culture, especially startup culture, we don't hear the word sufficiency. We hear maximization. We hear 10x. We hear rocket ship.
It's a toxic frame. It's not an engineering frame. Kaufman brings us back to reality. Finance is not the purpose of the machine.
Right.
Let me ask you, do you drive your car solely for the pleasure of putting gas in it?
No. I put gas in it so I can go places.
Exactly. Profit is gas. It is fuel. You need enough fuel to get where you are going. If you have zero fuel, you stop. But having 10,000 gallons of fuel for a 5-mile trip doesn't necessarily make the car drive better. In fact, the weight of that fuel might slow you down.
That reframing is powerful. Profit is a constraint. It is a requirement for existence, but it isn't necessarily the goal of the existence.
It's a symptom of a healthy system. In fact, maximizing profit at the expense of the other modules can damage the engine. Kaufman talks about incremental degradation.
Give me an example of that.
Let's say you want to maximize finance. You want more profit this quarter. So you decide to cut costs in Module 4, value delivery.
Easy target.
Always. You start using cheaper cardboard for your boxes, or you fire half your support staff to save on salaries.
The numbers look great for a quarter. The spreadsheet is happy.
The finance module looks amazing, but you have degraded the delivery module. Customers start getting damaged goods. They wait on hold for 3 hours. They get angry.
Then Module 3, sales, takes a hit because trust evaporates. Your reputation is shot.
And then Module 2, marketing, becomes more expensive because you have to work harder and spend more to replace the customers you are losing. You have to shout louder to overcome the negative word of mouth.
And the system eats itself.
The system eats itself. This leads us perfectly into the concept of the critical path. Because, as we said, these aren't silos.
They are a flow. It's a loop.
Think of it like a circulatory system. A bottleneck in one artery causes heart failure in the whole body. You cannot just fix sales. If your sales are down, it might be because your delivery is slow, which is killing your reputation.
Or your value creation is just outdated.
Right. Maybe people don't want the product anymore. It allows you to debug rather than blame. It's fascinating because it takes the emotion out of it. It's not our sales team is lazy. It might be our delivery system is creating a reputation drag that makes sales impossible.
You stop screaming at people and start fixing the code.
Precisely.
Okay, so that is the hardware. That is the machine, the 5-part engine. If businesses were run by robots, we could probably stop the deep dive right here.
It would be a perfect equation.
But a machine needs an operator. And unfortunately, the operator is a human being.
And that is the biggest point of failure, the single biggest variable.
Let's transition to Section 2. Cognitive overhead. Kaufman spends a huge portion of the work arguing that the human brain is, well, it's outdated tech.
It is severely deprecated hardware. I mean, think about it. We are running 100,000-year-old biological code trying to interface with a modern economic operating system. It's a massive compatibility problem.
So the thesis here is that the human brain is the primary source of friction and error in the business machine.
It's the ghost in the machine. It's the primary bug.
So we need to debug the human operating system. Let's look at the specific glitches Kaufman identifies. The first one explains why I get sweaty palms before big negotiation, or why I procrastinate on cold calls.
Caveman syndrome.
Caveman syndrome.
Biologically, your hardware is optimized for physical survival on the savannah. That's it. It is optimized to detect predators and conserve energy. It is not optimized for abstract economic calculation or social rejection.
So when I have to make a sales call, and I'm afraid they might say no, my brain isn't processing that logically.
Your brain doesn't register social rejection. It registers threat to tribal standing. It's a primal fear. In the Paleolithic era, if the tribe rejected you, you were cast out and you died.
It's a life or death signal.
It is. So the brain treats a no on a sales call with the same chemical severity, the same cortisol and adrenaline as a saber-toothed tiger entering the cave.
It triggers threat lockdown.
Exactly. You freeze. Your higher reasoning, your prefrontal cortex shuts down. You start making excuses. Oh, I'll call them tomorrow. I need to research more. That isn't you being prudent. That is your inner caveman hiding under a rock because he thinks he's going to get eaten.
So the business machine halts because the human operator is in a panic loop.
Correct. And then you have the energy issue. We call it laziness, but Kaufman argues that laziness is a feature, not a bug.
A feature. How can laziness be a feature?
It's conservation of energy. Your brain consumes a massive amount of glucose, something like 20% of your daily calories. For 99% of human history, calories were scarce. So the brain is hardwired to do as little as possible to save fuel for emergencies.
So my desire to sit on the couch and watch Netflix instead of building my marketing funnel,
That is your biological imperative functioning perfectly. Your brain is saying, save the calories, we might have to run from a lion later.
That's both depressing and liberating.
It is. The problem is, business requires massive, sustained energy expenditure. It requires building, thinking, calling, creating. The natural state of the operator is inaction. Inertia is the default.
So you have to design the business system to overcome the operator's natural biological desire to save calories. You can't just rely on willpower.
Willpower is a limited battery. You need systems that force action. But let's look at the next bug, because this one hits the finance module hard. Loss aversion.
Okay, hold on. Loss aversion. I hear this term thrown around a lot. It feels a bit like pop psychology 101.
Mm-hmm.
Is it actually a biological constraint on business, or is it just an excuse for being, a chicken?
It's definitely not just an excuse. It's a core survival mechanism. Think about your ancestors again. If they took a gamble on a new food source and won, they got a good lunch. Nice, but not life-changing.
Okay.
But if they took a gamble and lost...
He died.
Exactly. They were eaten or poisoned. So biologically, the pain of loss had to be weighted much, much heavier than the pleasure of gain. The research shows we feel loss about twice as intensely as we feel gain. A $50 loss hurts as much as a $100 gain feels good.
So when I'm staring at my pricing page, terrified to raise rates by 5%, that's not me being a bad CEO.
That is your hardware screaming at you that the risk of losing customers is terrifying, even if the math says you will make more money overall. It acts as a governor on the engine. It prevents necessary risks. It explains why a founder might hesitate to pivot even when the current model isn't working. They're afraid to lose the work they've already done, the sunk cost fallacy. But here's the flip side. You have to understand that your customer has this bug too. This is crucial for the sales module.
Right. They're looking at my product thinking, what if this sucks? What if I lose my $50?
And that fear of losing $50 is twice as strong as their desire for your product's potential benefit. So your value proposition has to be significantly higher than the price to overcome that biological drag. Sales is really just therapy for loss aversion. It is risk mitigation through guarantees, social proof, and building trust.
Now, what about when things get too complicated? Kaufman talks about cognitive scope limitation.
This is a RAM issue, pure and simple. The human brain can only handle a few variables at once. The famous number is 7 plus or minus 2.
The working memory limit.
Right, but a business, even a small one, has thousands of variables. Inventory, cash flow, employee moods, market trends, tax laws, the color of the logo.
We physically cannot track it all.
We cannot. This leads to a really dangerous bug he calls absence blindness.
Absence blindness. That is a great term.
It is. We cannot manage what we cannot see. And we naturally only see what is physically present in front of us. We see the angry customer email. We see the bank balance. But we do not see the customer who visited the site and left without buying.
They're invisible.
They're an absence. We do not see the employee who is quietly burning out but hasn't quit yet. The human brain ignores it. But for the business system, that non-event is critical feedback. As the system grows, the operator naturally loses track of these invisible variables, leading to crashes. We are flying blind.
We are. And we make it worse with monoidealism.
Which is just a fancy way of saying humans cannot multitask.
But I'm great at multitasking. I can text and listen to a podcast and stir my coffee at the same time.
No, you are great at rapid toggling. And every single toggle costs you. Kaufman calls it the cognitive switching penalty.
A penalty?
Yes. Every time you shift focus from writing code to answering an email, your brain has to unload one context and load another. It's like a computer swapping out data from RAM to a slow hard drive. It takes energy and time.
So even a quick glance at an email isn't free?
It's incredibly expensive. If you are trying to run marketing and delivery simultaneously, which every solopreneur does, you are paying a massive tax in switching costs. You are making yourself stupider and slower by trying to do two things at once.
And finally, the filter, the one that protects our ego, confirmation bias.
The operator filters data to fit existing models. If you think your product is a genius idea, you will unconsciously ignore the 10 customers who say it's confusing and focus on the one who says it's pretty.
We protect our ego at the cost of the system's health.
We do. This leads directly to a value creation failure. You build things nobody wants because you refuse to process the data that contradicted your beautiful vision.
So, to recap this section, we have a delicate, interdependent 5-part machine. And it is being run by a lazy, terrified, easily overwhelmed caveman who ignores negative data and can't focus on more than one thing at a time.
It is a miracle any business survives at all. It truly is.
It really is. So how do we fix this? We can't evolve a new brain overnight. How do we bypass the buggy human hardware?
You stop trusting your brain. You don't try to fix it. You build a system around it. You install sensors.
Sensors. This brings us to section 3, sensors versus intuition.
Right. Most operators run their business on intuition, which is really just a friendly word for feelings, ego, and all those biases we just discussed. I feel like sales are good. I feel like customers are happy.
And the engineer says, show me the telemetry.
Exactly. You need to capture objective telemetry. You need to move from what he calls ego-driven data to systemic reality.
Give me an example of the difference. What is ego-driven data?
Total revenue is often a vanity metric. It looks big. It makes you feel good at a dinner party. We did $1 million in revenue.
It feeds the ego. It's a scoreboard for you.
But if you spent $1.2 million to get it, you are dying. The system is bleeding out. But the $1 million number blinds you to that reality.
So what is systemic reality?
Systemic reality looks at critical ratios, like lifetime value versus customer acquisition cost. That ratio tells the truth about the health of the machine.
That ratio tells you if the machine is efficient.
It does. There's an old saying, profit is sanity, turnover is vanity. You cannot know if the system is healthy without these baselines, or what Kaufman calls norms. You need to know what's normal before you can spot a problem.
And he talks about installing a dashboard, KPIs, key performance indicators.
Think of like a car dashboard. It's perfectly designed. You don't need to know the temperature of the spark plugs. You don't need to know the air pressure in the spare tire every second. That's noise.
You just need the critical data.
You need to know speed, fuel, and engine temp. Maybe oil pressure. That's it.
So what are the speed, fuel, and engine temp for the business OS?
You need a KPI for each of the 5 modules. For value creation, how quickly are we shipping new value? For marketing, how much traffic or attention do we have? Is it going up or down? For sales, what is our conversion ratio? For value delivery, what is our return or complaint rate? And for finance, what is our profit margin and our cash runway, our purchasing power?
If you have those 5 dials on your dashboard, you don't need intuition.
You can fly the plane by instruments. Even if you are scared caveman syndrome or tired laziness or biased confirmation bias, the dials tell the objective truth. Conversion is down 10%. That is a fact. It forces you to act based on reality, not feeling.
And this allows you to see the feedback loops. Let's unpack feedback loops, because this is where systems theory gets really interesting. There are 2 kinds, right?
2 main types, yes. Balancing loops and reinforcing loops. A balancing loop is like a thermostat. It resists change. It tries to maintain equilibrium.
So if I try to grow too fast,
the system pushes back. Let's say your marketing works too well. You get 10,000 orders overnight, but your value delivery system can only ship 1,000 a day.
the system gets overwhelmed.
Customer service gets overwhelmed. Wait times go up. People get angry. They cancel their orders. They leave bad reviews. The growth slows back down to what the system can handle. The system balanced itself to its capacity.
It creates a ceiling. It keeps you stuck.
Exactly. And then you have reinforcing loops. These are compounding cycles. Vicious or virtuous cycles.
Like a microphone squeal.
Exactly. Audio feedback is a perfect reinforcing loop. Sound goes in, gets amplified, comes out, goes back in, gets amplified again, and it spirals out of control. In business, viral growth is a reinforcing loop. One user incites two, who invite four.
But debt is also a reinforcing loop.
It's the classic death spiral. You borrow money to pay interest, which increases the total debt, which increases the interest payment, and so on. It compounds against you.
And the human operator usually misses these loops until it's too late because of that absence blindness we talked about.
Correct. A truly engineered system looks for the silence as much as the noise. You have to design sensors to measure what is missing. Who isn't buying? What's the churn rate? Why are we not growing? You have to measure the absence.
Okay, so we have the machine, we understand the operator's flaws, and we have sensors. But there is a trap here. The trap is that we get smart. We think, okay, I need a more complex system to manage all this chaos.
And that is the death knell. Complexity is seductive, but in engineering terms, complexity is fragile. This brings us to section 4, debunking the myth of complexity.
And a concept called Gall's Law.
Gall's Law is fundamental. It should be written on the wall of every startup. It states, a complex system that works is invariably found to have evolved from a simple system that worked.
Meaning you can't just build a Boeing 747 from scratch in your garage.
Exactly. If you try to build a complex system from scratch, it will fail. It has too many variables, too many unknown dependencies. You cannot predict how Module A will interact with Module E until they are running in a simple form.
This kills the whole stealth startup idea, doesn't it? The idea of spending 3 years in stealth mode building the perfect complex platform.
Gall's law predicts that startup will crash on launch day. Because they are building complexity without testing the underlying simple system against reality. You have to start with the right flyer. You have to start with that MEVO.
The thermos of coffee on the street corner.
Build the simplest cycle that turns cash. Prove that value creation can connect to sales. Once that simple wheel is turning reliably, then you add complexity, one layer at a time.
So how do we manage the flow once it's running? Kaufman uses the theory of constraints.
This is straight physics. A system can only move as fast as its slowest bottleneck. Imagine a chain. If you have a chain with one plastic link and you pull on it,
It breaks at the plastic link. Every time.
does it help to reinforce the steel links to make them thicker?
No. The strength of the steel links is completely irrelevant.
Exactly. But in business, people constantly reinforce the steel links because it's easy and it feels productive. If you are good at marketing, but your sales process is the bottleneck, you will naturally want to do more marketing because it feels good and you get results there.
But the system output doesn't change.
It creates a backlog. It actually makes things worse. Kaufman lists the 5 focusing steps. Identify the constraint. Exploit it, meaning get the most out of it. Subordinate everything else to it. Elevate it, meaning invest in it. Then find the new constraint. Optimizing anything other than the bottleneck is not engineering, it's just tinkering.
Now, to fight the entropy, to fight the chaos, we need structure. Kaufman is a big fan of SOPs, standard operating procedures.
This goes right back to the cognitive overhead. Remember, the brain burns energy to make decisions. If you have to decide how to invoice a client every single time you do it, you are burning fuel unnecessarily.
So you externalize the process.
You take the load off the buggy human RAM and put it into hard code, checklists, procedures. When X happens, do Y. This reduces the cognitive switching penalty. It reduces performance load. It frees up the operator's brain to do the things only a brain can do, like creative problem solving or dealing with a new crisis.
But this leads us to automation. We all want to automate. We want robots doing the invoices. But there is a paradox here, isn't there?
The paradox of automation. This is a crucial one. The more efficient the automated system, the more crucial the human operator becomes when it fails.
Wait, unpack that. If the system is efficient, shouldn't the human be less crucial?
In day-to-day operations, yes. But here is the irony of automation. Reliable systems bore the operator. If the autopilot flies the plane 99% of the time, the pilot gets bored. Their attention drifts. They lose their feel for the machine. They check out.
So when the red light finally flashes,
The human is asleep at the wheel. Or they have forgotten how to manually fly the plane because they haven't done it in years. They panic. And the crash is catastrophic because the system was moving so fast and so efficiently before it failed.
so automation isn't set and forget?
No. It changes the human role from laborer to pilot. You aren't digging the ditch anymore. You are monitoring the excavator. And that requires a different kind of discipline. It requires vigilance without activity, which humans are very bad at.
Let's apply all of this. We've got the theory. Let's do a modern stress test. Section 5. Let's run this OS against the current landscape.
Let's see if the code holds up.
Scenario A. The AI-first company. We're seeing these pop up everywhere. How does the 5-part engine change when AI is involved?
It creates a massive shift in the bottlenecks. You mentioned zero marginal cost earlier. Let's really unpack that.
Please. It sounds like economists speak.
Imagine a bakery. To sell one more loaf of bread, you need more flour, more yeast, and more oven time. There's a real tangible cost to that extra unit.
Right. I can't just snap my fingers and duplicate a bagel.
Exactly. But in the world of AI and software, value delivery is digital. If I write a piece of code or an AI generates a report, selling that to one person costs me X. Selling to 1 million people, it still costs me roughly X.
The copy-paste button is free.
Precisely. So AI fundamentally drives the cost of value delivery towards zero. The delivery module becomes frictionless.
So where does the pressure go? If delivery is free, where is the bottleneck in the system?
It shifts heavily to value creation. Who has the best idea or the best model and marketing? Who can get attention in a world where everyone can create content for free? If anyone can deliver the service, the value is in who creates the best version and who you trust. Brand and marketing become paramount.
What about the vulnerability?
The automation vulnerability we just discussed becomes existential. If AI handles 90% of your coding or content creation, the human operator risks massive absence blindness regarding quality control.
If the AI hallucinates a line of code or a false fact?
And you aren't checking because you trust the machine, that error is multiplied instantly across the system to all million users. In an AI company, the human must become a hypervigilant editor. The editor function becomes more valuable than the creator function.
Interesting. Okay, scenario B, the solopreneur engine. This is the person trying to run all 5 modules with one brain.
The interdependence load here is extreme.
Yeah.
You have one human brain attempting to run value creation, marketing, sales, delivery, and finance all at the same time.
Cognitive switching penalty must be lethal.
It is the primary threat. It's the silent killer of solo businesses. Shifting from creator mode, which is deep work, introverted, to salesperson mode, which is extroverted, aggressive burns, massive mental fuel. This is why solopreneurs burn out. They aren't working too many hours. They're switching contexts too many times.
So how do they survive? They can't hire a department for each module.
Force multipliers. In physics, a lever is a force multiplier. In business, SaaS software, AI, and capital are force multipliers. The solopreneur must use tools to amplify their limited input. They cannot afford to do manual labor in all 5 modules.
Kaufman talks about the hierarchy of funding.
Right. For a solopreneur, you bootstrap. You use your own cash to buy tools force multipliers that stabilize the system. You don't hire people initially. You hire software to handle the lower value, repeatable modules like finance with invoicing software or delivery with scheduling software.
And you have to be ruthless about comparative advantage.
You must focus only on high value inputs, the things only you can do, the core of value creation. You have to systemize or deconstruct the rest. If you are a solopreneur doing your own bookkeeping manually, you are violating the engineering principles of the machine.
You're clogging your own engine.
You are using a high-value processor, your brain, for a low-value task that a $10 a month software could do better. You are letting entropy win.
This has been dense, but incredibly clarifying.
It's a lot to unpack. But that's the point. Business isn't magic. It's not an art. It's mechanics.
Business is often treated like an art form that only a few can master.
But Kaufman shows us it's much closer to code.
The models aren't rules to follow. They are diagnostic tools for the machine you are building.
And once you understand the operating system, you stop guessing and start engineering.
If you now see your work as a series of connected systems rather than a series of chores, the decoding worked.
To keep seeing the hidden architecture in the books that shape our world one book at a time, subscribe to Decoded by Morrow.
We don't replace books, we decode them.
You've reached the end of this exploration, but not the end of the idea. Let it echo. Let it integrate. And when you're ready for the next step, return to Decoded by Morrow. Wisdom is a journey, not a conclusion. Let's decode.